Hey, coin collectors and history enthusiasts. Welcome back to. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1996 Canada 1-cent coin, a small yet fascinating piece of Canadian history. How much is it worth in circulation today? Is it rare? Let's find out. The Canada 1-cent coin, often called the penny, was an essential part of Canadian currency for over 150 years. The 1996 version was produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, featuring the same classic design introduced in 1937. Features Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pèteri-Hunt. This portrait was used from 1990 to 2002 before being updated. Displays the iconic maple leaf twig designed by G. E. Kruger Gray. The maple leaf is a symbol of Canada's identity and natural beauty. The coin is inscribed with 1 cent, Canada, and the year 1996 metal composition, 98% copper, 1.5% zinc, 0.5% tin weight, 2.5 grams diameter, 19.05 millimeters. Unlike later pennies, which were mostly zinc and steel, the 1996 penny was still largely made of copper, giving it that classic reddish-brown look. This means the 1996 penny is not considered rare. Billions of these were made in the 1990s, making them common in circulation. In circulated condition, the 1996 Canada 1-cent coin is still worth 1 cent. As expected. However, if you have an uncirculated or high-grade version, it can be worth a few dollars to collectors. In 2012, Canada stopped producing pennies due to high production costs. By 2013, they were officially removed from circulation. That makes any Canadian penny, including the 1996 version, a piece of history. While not all are valuable, they are still a great collectible. So, should you keep your 1996 Canada 1-cent coin? If it's in circulated condition, it won't be worth much. But if you have one in mint state, it could be a nice little treasure. The Canadian 1-cent coin, commonly known as the penny, played a major role in Canada's economy for over 150 years. The 1996 edition was one of the last traditional copper-based pennies before major composition changes in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The first official Canadian 1-cent coin was minted in 1858, during the colonial period when Canada was still part of the British Empire. Over the years, the design and metal composition changed several times, reflecting Canada's evolving identity and technological advancements in minting. By 1937, Canada introduced the maple leaf twig design, which became a staple for the penny and remained largely unchanged until the coin was discontinued. By the 1990s, the Royal Canadian Mint was producing hundreds of millions of pennies per year to meet the growing demand. The 1996 Canada 1-cent coin was one of the last years to retain a mostly copper composition, 98%, before transitioning to copper-plated zinc and steel in later years. One of the notable features of the 1996 penny is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, which had been updated in 1990 to reflect a more mature version of the Queen. This portrait, designed by Dora de Pèteri-Hunt, was the first time a Canadian artist's work was featured on a national coin. By the early 2000s, producing pennies had become expensive. The cost of making a single penny exceeded its face value, leading to discussions about removing it from circulation. In 2012, the Canadian government announced that the penny would no longer be minted due to rising production costs and limited usage. By 2013, pennies were officially phased out, and businesses were encouraged to round prices to the nearest 5 cents. Although the 1996 Canada 1-cent coin isn't considered rare, it is still part of the long history of the Canadian penny, making it a collectible piece for numismatists and history enthusiasts alike. Today, we're diving into a small but fascinating piece of Canadian history, the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin. We'll explore its design, history, mintage, and most importantly, its circulated value today. So, let's get started. The Canadian 1-cent coin from 1981 is part of the long-running 1-cent series that circulated in Canada until 2012. This particular year belongs to the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, whose portrait is featured on the obverse. Features a right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. Designed by Arnold Machin. Inscribed with Elizabeth II DG Regina, which means, by the grace of God, Queen. Showcases the iconic maple leaf design, a symbol of Canada. Designed by George Kruger Gray. The inscription includes Canada and the year 1981. The face value of 1 cent is written below the leaves. This design was one of the most recognizable Canadian coins, making it a favorite among collectors. The 1981 Canada 1-cent coin was made primarily of bronze, with the following composition: 98% copper, 1.5% zinc, 0.5% tin. It has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and weighs about 3.24 grams. In terms of production, The Royal Canadian Mint produced a staggering 1,217,078,500 coins in 1981. That's over a billion pennies. Because of this high mintage, the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin isn't particularly rare in circulated condition. So, how much is a circulated 1981 Canada 1-cent coin worth today? If you have one that has been in circulation and shows signs of wear, its value is typically N face value, 1-cent metal value, around 2 to 3 cents due to its copper content collector value. In circulated condition, it's generally worth around 5 to 10 cents, but if you find a coin in uncirculated or near-mint condition, it could be worth around 50 cents to $1.50. And if you have one graded as MS-65 or higher, you might get $5 to $10 or more. Now, let's talk about what really excites collectors: error coins. Some of the rare variations and errors for the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin include: some coins were struck with a slightly doubled design, making the letters or numbers appear doubled. These can be worth $10 to $50 depending on the severity. If the coin was struck incorrectly and appears misaligned, it could fetch $20 to $100 plus. Coins that were struck on the wrong metal or have missing parts can be very valuable. Some of these have sold for hundreds of dollars, so it's always a good idea to carefully check your pennies. You never know when you might have a rare one. If you come across a 1981 Canada 1-cent coin, should you keep it? Yes, if it's in uncirculated condition or has errors. Yes, if you want to collect older Canadian cents before they were discontinued. And yes, if you're into coin stacking because of its copper value. However, if it's just a regular, heavily circulated coin, it's more of a sentimental or historical piece rather than a highly valuable collectible. So, that's everything you need to know about the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin. While most of these are common, rare errors or high-grade specimens can be valuable. Always check your change or old collections. The Canadian 1-cent coin has a long and rich history dating back to 1858, when the province of Canada first issued pennies. Over the years, the design and metal composition of the 1-cent coin changed multiple times, reflecting Canada's evolving economy and technological advancements. The 1981 Canada 1-cent coin belongs to the Queen Elizabeth II era, which began in 1953 and lasted until the penny's discontinuation in 2012. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II changed several times, with the Arnold Mackin effigy, 1965 to 1989, being used on the 1981 penny. The reverse design of the 1981 Canada 1-cent coin features two maple leaves on a single twig. This design, created by George Kruger Gray, was first introduced in 1937 and remained in use until the end of penny production in 2012. The maple leaf is an iconic symbol of Canada, representing the country's natural beauty and national identity. It has been featured on Canadian coins, flags, and other emblems throughout history. The 1981 Canada 1-cent coin was minted in massive quantities, over 1.2 billion coins. This makes it one of the most common Canadian pennies in circulation from that period. During this time, the Royal Canadian Mint was producing large numbers of pennies to meet public demand, as the 1-cent coin was heavily used in everyday transactions. However, because so many were made, they are not considered rare in circulated condition. This was one of the last year's Canadian pennies were made with mostly copper. In 1982, the composition changed slightly to zinc-based coins with a copper plating, reducing their intrinsic metal value. Because of its high copper content, the 1981 penny is worth more than its face value in scrap metal, especially with rising copper prices. However, melting pennies for their metal is illegal in Canada. In 2012, the Government of Canada officially discontinued the penny, citing production costs and lack of practical use. The cost of making a 1-cent coin had risen above its face value, and inflation had reduced its purchasing power. While the 1981 penny was once a common sight in pockets and cash registers across Canada, today it is mainly collected as a piece of history. The Canadian 1-cent coin has a long and fascinating history. First minted in 1858, the penny played an essential role in everyday transactions for over 150 years. However, as production costs increased and the value of a cent decreased, Canada decided to stop producing pennies in 2012. But let's go back to 2004, a time when pennies were still in circulation and commonly used. The 2004 Canadian 1-cent coin maintains the traditional design that collectors and everyday users recognize. Let's break it down. Features a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Susanna Blunt. This design, introduced in 2003, replaced the older Queen's portraits. The inscription reads Elizabeth II and D.G. Regina, Latin for, by the grace of God, Queen. Showcases the iconic maple leaf twig, designed by G. E. Kruger Gray in 1937. The inscription includes 1 cent, Canada, and the year 2004. In 2004, the Royal Canadian Mint produced approximately 761 million pennies. That's a massive number, making this coin relatively common in circulation. This composition differs from older copper-based pennies. Since 2000, Canadian pennies have been mostly steel with a thin copper coating. So, how much is a circulated 2004 Canadian penny worth today? Since this coin was produced in high numbers and is not rare, most circulated examples hold a value of 1 cent, essentially face value. A flawless, uncirculated coin can be worth between 10 cents to $1 USD. If you find a 2004 penny with misstrikes, die cracks, or off-center errors, it could fetch between $5 to $50 plus USD. Unopened rolls from the Royal Canadian Mint can sell for around $2 to $5 per rolls. If you have a 2004 penny in circulated condition, it's mostly worth keeping as a nostalgic piece rather than an investment. But check for errors, because they could be valuable. Before we wrap up, here are some fun facts about Canadian pennies. The last Canadian penny was minted on May 4, 2012, and the government stopped circulating them in 2013. Some early Canadian pennies, like the 1936 dot penny, can be worth over $400,000 USD. Pennies from 1997 to 1999 were made of pure zinc, while pennies from 2000 onwards were steel-based. The 2004 Canada 1 cent coin may not be rare, but it's still a great piece of history. Whether you collect coins or just love learning about them, this small copper-plated coin represents an era that has now passed. Like this video? Smash that like button and subscribe for more coin history and values. Drop a comment below if you have a 2004 Canadian penny or if you've ever found a rare one. Background music fades out, displaying. Subscribe for more coin videos.